Written by Perpetual Cynicism. So you and Hazel are the Tenryo Commission's most promising minds, and as a result, you have a habit of trying to outdo each other when it comes to cases. Things such as who can solve it the fastest, who can catch the criminal first, and so forth. And over the time, this has turned into a rivalry. Though it doesn't necessarily harbor any serious negative feelings about each other, it's not exactly a friendly and positive rivalry either. For example, you dislike the size of Heizou's ego and his seemingly never-ending supply of energy, while he has problems with your seemingly lack of passion and indifference when you're working, not to mention your habit of simply abandoning cases if they don't interest you enough. He often goes out of his way to continuously annoy you, distracting you to get reactions of any kind, tries to play mind games with you, almost like a child, and he's disappointed whenever you figure out his ever so cunning tactics. He gets on your nerve and you rub him the wrong way. And so when a particular dangerous and intelligent organization starts stirring up trouble, the Tenryu Commission decides that the only way this case is going to get resolved is if you both work on it together. You almost gag at the thought. Heizou doesn't look too pleased when he received the news either. He scoffs and sends you a log containing a hint of condescension, as if he thinks himself better than you. Your skin crawls, but your face betrays nothing of the internal curses you are muttering. When you first get started on the case, your interactions are snappy and as short as possible. Neither of you wanted to spend any more time than necessary in the other's presence. Rather than working together, your dynamic is more along the lines of, I'll go away and make some deductions, you'll go away and make some of your own, and then we'll come back together and argue about who's right. In short, the word cooperation suddenly ceases to exist when you're around each other. But as a result of your petty bickering, rather than focusing your energy on cracking the case, the crimes committed by this organization begin to grow more violent and more unpredictable. Murders start popping up more frequently in the news. You both hesitate when you hear this, because of your inability to work together, and instead, having your focus set on poking trifling holes in each other's theories has costed lives. For the sake of the greater good, you make a silent agreement to put aside your rivalry and problems with each other for the time being. And in doing so, you start realizing things about each other that were previously shrouded in bad impressions when you mess with each other. For example, Heizou's bad habit of playing mind games with people has started to corner potential subjects, while your ability to see through such tricks has stopped both of you from falling for various traps set out for you along the way. Though you often face this case with disinterest manner and a pathetic glance, Heizou doesn't fail to notice the passion and time you are pouring into your work. Maybe you do care about these things after all, and he just failed to notice it before. Perhaps, he thinks to himself, your mask of indifference is a result of this passion. You spend so much time and effort engrossed in your work that you simply don't have the energy to show it. Looking at how diligently you draw connections between pieces of data, Heizou could almost describe you as getting lost in your work. But nobody, no matter how skilled or intelligent, can go on like this forever. A foreign feeling begins to settle in his gut. Is it concern? But though he feels guilty, he says nothing of it. He needs you working on this case with him more than he'd like to admit. As the case progresses, you start to bounce your ideas off each other, rather than trying to drag the other down. You pose questions to each other and fill in gaps that may be missing in your deductions. When you counter a theory, it's no longer out of spite, but a way of strengthening the line of thought even further. In fact, though the very thought disgusts the both of you, one looking from the outside could describe you almost as close. Of course, if someone were to say such thing, you'd belittle the statement. However, you can't deny that a little voice inside you is seeming to say, maybe he's not that bad after all. You glance at Heizou from the corner of your eye. He catches it and returns it with a wiggle of his eyebrows and a mischievous grin. The words, like what you see, are written all over his face. You roll your eyes at him, unimpressed, but can't help but wonder if he thinks the same. Soon enough, exhaustion begins to take its toll on you. Long hours spent analyzing evidence have sapped you of your energy. Even looking at the progress you've made makes you want to be sick. It's been a while since you allowed yourself to get this engrossed in a case, And for a good reason. Getting burnt out while in the middle of investigating murders isn't exactly what you can call convenient timing. Heizou notices the light coming from the study that burns throughout the night, and when he sees you these days, the resulting weariness has begun to settle in your voice and in the bags under your eye. When he suggests getting some rest, you dismiss the suggestion, claiming that you are fine and don't need any sleep. He isn't convinced, and neither are you, but yet again, he doesn't probe any deeper into it. Perhaps it's selfish of him to do so, but something within him doesn't have the heart to send you away from his side, even if for your own benefit. In fact, he realizes that he's coming to rather enjoy your presence. God's forbid. No, more than enjoy. He finds himself actively seeking out, and when you are not here, it's you he's thinking of rather than Kate. But since he's already caught feelings for you, you may as well check whether you share the sentiment. Heizou's behavior around you begins to change. Not by much, but he starts showing off more than usual and trying to impress you with his impeccable deductive thinking skill, as he calls them. You, much to his disappointment, remain completely unmoved. He's a rather well-liked guy and has a fair share of fans. These tactics always work on them, but you are tough not to crack, it seems. No matter, he can wait. Tries to look for some other signs that you like him back. After all, he can usually read people like a book. But with you, he can find no hints, no body language, no indications that you return his feelings. This irks him. For the first time, he finds himself unable to deduce somebody's motives. You are a mystery to him, and this frustrates him as much as it captivates him. Now, one night, he's returning from a long day investigation of the most recent crime scene. Scribbled notes and observations tucked under his arm, whistling to himself as he saunters into your shared office to share his recent findings with you. You, meanwhile, agreed to stay inside and make sense of what you've got so far. The lights are still on, so you are most likely still working away. He looks forward to discussing his discoveries with you. He pushes open the door, calling a playful hello, expecting for enthusiastic greeting to be returned with an exasperated sigh as per usual. But to his surprise, there is no answer. Heizou tilts his head, mumbling. He is painfully aware of the absence of your voice. He peeks inside the room, puzzled. His eyes sweep over the interior and land on a familiar figure. You are slumped over your desk, a pile of annotated, scribbled-on paperwork beneath your head. There is a quill still loosely gripped in your hand, and a light burning beside you. He can't help but chuckle under his breath, shaking his head as he approaches you. You really overwork yourself, haven't you? He muses. The only response is your quiet breathing. Heizou walks over and pulls out a chair to sit beside you, watching you with a hand propping up his cheek. The light bathes you in a warm glow, and he can't help but think, hey, you look kind of cute. He shudders to think how you'd react to that statement if you were awake, looking at you, so unkempt and vulnerable. He feels an urge to play with you a little, pull a prank perhaps. An impish grin spreads across his face, and he reaches his hand towards you, whether to pinch you, poke you, or play with your hair. He doesn't know. But then, just as he is about to make contact, his hand hesitates. You look so peaceful for once, and he can't bring himself to disturb you. He pulls his hands away. You deserve your rest, because mixed in with his feelings of endearment and mischief, the concern he held for you before begins taking form as a guilt for not stopping you earlier. If he had been more firm about you getting some rest, perhaps you wouldn't be in this state in the first place. Though it's tempting, he's not about to drag you back into the waking world just when you finally got some rest for the sake of his amusement. You must be uncomfortable, he thinks. Even if you sleep for 3 days in this position, there's no way you'll wake up feeling any better than the moment you nodded off. He briefly considers the possibility of taking you back to your place, but waves it away. Your home is hardly nearby, and he would have to wake you to get you there. Then he recalls that there is a minuscule side room containing a bed. Should the person using the place need to sleep there? Only problem is, there is only one bed. Heizou shrugs. No problem, he can take the sofa. He stands up, considering how to move you without waking you up. Very, very gently, he tips you backwards against your chair to make it easier to lift you. Then, still ever so careful, he places an arm under your back and another under your legs, and picks you up, holding you close to his chest. You shift your head, mumbling a few vague noises, likely aroused by the movement. Momentarily panicking, Heizou hushes you, and you relax once more. He breathes an inward sigh of relief, his heartbeat accelerating when you lean unconsciously to him. It grows even faster. Heizou lays you down on the bed, resting your head on the pillow, careful to make the impact as soft as possible. He removes his hand, waiting there a moment with a held breath to check if you stir again. Nothing. The possibility of joining you arises in his mind. It is tempting, he has to admit. He shakes away the thought. You would certainly find it uncomfortable if you were awake, so he shouldn't disrespect that merely because you were sleeping. However, he can't help but cast a final glance at you before leaving your room. He smiles to himself. He snuffs out the light and lies down on the sofa, sleep soon taking him, too, in its embrace. When you awaken in the morning, Heizou's already awake, sticking some notes to the ever-growing mural of photos and documents on the wall. You feel well-rested for once. You could have sworn you fell asleep at your desk last night, not in the bed, but maybe your memory is blurry. You yawn and Heizou turns around at the sound, eyes lighting up when he sees you. As per usual, there is a playful glint of mischief in his gaze. Somebody slept well, he teases, unable to keep himself from smiling at the sight of your bed head and general unkempt appearance. You rub your eyes and grunt. You pause before saying, I had a weird dream last night. Heizou's grin widens, and he suddenly feels a little giddy. Oh? What was it about? Not sure. You frown. Can't remember the details. I think it was a nice dream, though. He quirks an eyebrow, a hint of smugness entering his voice. I'm glad.